You know what's so funny? I needed that so badly. And I just
You are welcome.
I really needed that. I was just sitting here and I was reading through our opening and stuff.
Yes.
And I was like, I said to myself, we, always hone in on the humor, of it
Mhm.
all. And then I was like, I don't know that it's going to be too many funny things tonight, right? So I was like lost in that thought and very much like focused brain people on high alert,
Yeah,
like, come on,
task.
let's get ready.
Right.
And then to see you. So I want you to tell everybody what just happened so they can understand why I needed that for real.
So we were getting ready, prepping, doing all the things, getting all the technical stuff set up so we could be here for you tonight. And I needed to step off camera for a moment before we got started. And so I'm doing all that. I give Sarah her treat of ice because she likes ice and we think it's a
Make
game.
sure they know who Sarah is. They're like, who the
Sarah is
hell?
our third co-host, basically. Sometimes she makes an appearance, if only an audible one. Sometimes you'll just hear her tap dancing in the back, like right now. But every once in a while, she has a speaking role, and she'll let you know when the show is over. But she also likes treats. Obviously, she's a dog, but I'm black, so her treats are ice. So she heard the ice machine because I went to go make a drink. Well, I'm making the drink as the minutes are counting down to the start of the show, and I come sliding into the frame at like 10 seconds to go time.
But not even the minutes though. It was seconds, right? So you got up at like
A minute
two.
and 18 seconds.
So all I'm hearing is I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming. So I'm like, what is she doing? I'm like, is she about to make a drink? Like, what is happening? And then you just slid back in. It was like 11 seconds. I am here.
I'm committed. I was like, how fast can I make a drink? A minute 18 sounds like more than enough time.
Oh my God.
If I didn't have to have crushed ice, it would have been faster.
Oh my
That's what
God, that
slowed me
was
down.
so funny. But no, I needed that because I was very much over here in my head and I needed that moment to laugh.
I got
So
you. I got you.
woo, child. Okay, I want to make sure that I share this on Facebook and places and sending links and all that kind of stuff before we do like our official like get the show started. But I also want to say that tonight's show episode, what have you, is not really about formalities.
Right.
It's really a conversation,
Conversation.
right? So also like we about to have a conversation.
I thought
And
that.
Sarah may chime in from time to time with the amen squad. So y'all
Okay.
get this
So
A and B selection from Sarah right quick so I could share this on my Facebook. Okay. All right.
yes, it did.
Oh my goodness, that was so funny. I haven't laughed that hard in a minute.
I'm happy I could be of service. I know it's a serious topic
It
tonight. Very
is.
triggering.
It really
So,
is.
any moments of levity that we can find in there,
Yes.
welcome.
And to that, all the trigger warnings
Yes.
that we can place, definitely understand it if you have to tap out from time to time or what have you. But this is a safe space that we are creating here tonight to have a conversation about what has come to more public knowledge regarding Cassie and her relationship with Sean Diddy Combs. So, if you are not in a space to have that conversation, or you're not in a space to hear that conversation, we take no offense of you saying that. So what I would just ask is, if you got a piece out, y'all send us some love in the comments. And we want you to make sure that you prioritize your mental, emotional, spiritual well-being as you are here. Having said that, if you are in a space to be in this space and have the capacity to hold space for us in this conversation, as well as anybody else who might show up in this space who is a survivor of domestic violence or anything that may have been categorized in a different way, but a survivor of traumatic instances or abuse or anything of that nature. If you have the space to hold space for those people, we ask you to remain because your support is needed and felt and heard. So, having said that, some of the ways that you can show support is by clicking the reactions, right? That's an easy way to just tap buttons, and that lets us know that you're hearing us, you're with us, and such. Also, by comments in the chat, and for those comments to be your actual words of support. We appreciate that as well. So all of that counts as a way to show us that you are here and show us that you are ready to receive and like I said, hold space. Okay, so having said that, what are y'all watching? Who are we? Like, what's going on here? So welcome to So You Don't Put Syrup on Your Grilled Cheese. This is a podcast where we are two real life cousins, and in this space we talk about things that we thought was normal in our family, and then we realized that it was actually family dysfunction. So we decided to start a podcast so that we could unpack it all and share our stories and help other people find their voices when it comes to healing, and especially when it comes to mental health. So in this space, we invite you to come along, and this journey, we're on a journey of self-discovery, and usually a whole lot of laughter, which is why if you go back to the beginning of this episode, we had a moment that I just absolutely needed. And that just always seems to show up. So we do try to find something funny in all of the craziness, and bringing you along to also maybe get some healing. So my name is Kim, and my name is Kim today.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Same. I am of the same mind. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. My name is Kim.
Yeah.
I am a survivor of domestic violence. And I talk about it. I started talking about it probably in 2017, maybe 2017, 2018. Um, and sometimes I talk about it like it's not me, like it's somebody else's story. And then other times I actually talk about it as if it is me. I don't know which version of that is really going to show up tonight, but this topic is really, really, really important to me because I feel like a lot of people judge, and there's a shroud of shame, that an embarrassment, and stuff that surrounds like telling your story. And I decided that I would volunteer my face as somebody who would talk about it because I don't look like whatever the hell that looks like,
Whatever.
somebody who has lived through this. So that's me. And that is why I am here.
Well, I definitely thank you for sharing your story and the strength it takes to say that, and I know that it differs from day to day, so I'm glad that today lined up with one that it did feel good and appropriate for you to do so.
Yes,
So
yes,
appreciate that.
yeah.
I am Kalonda, Kim's cousin in real life. That's my boo. So luckily, and I do say luckily because there are so many women that have had to live through and are currently enduring domestic violence, and it's not always physical. We all know there's definitely mental, emotional, and financial abuse that happens as well. So just making sure that today, as Kim said earlier, just that we hold space for those feelings for those people. It's very easy to stand outside and say, oh, well, I would have, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, until it happens to you, you really have no idea what you would do. And certain things may sound easy, but it's easier said than done. And that's a saying for a reason. So I am just here to help further this conversation today, and just really
Can
kind
you
of.
take that just back that you just put out there?
I,
Thanks.
oh, spicy.
It just, I was gonna let you, and then I said no.
She's like, I'm not. Oh, and the look. I'm here to help further the conversation. Um, but yes, and to be a part of that, and to really see where that goes. And please, as you guys are listening, if there's questions, things you'd like to share, please put them in the comments. We definitely want to hear from you. And I know that today the conversation isn't easy, but it's definitely much needed. And we can still have it without, you know, it carrying all the weight that it does carry sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, where do we even begin?
Girl, I swear it
Um,
happened right after we got off the show.
mm-hmm,
Like
mm-hmm.
or I just remember seeing it.
The apology happened right after we got off
Yes,
the show.
that's what it was. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, because I was at lunch when I saw the video for the first time. And do you want to talk about that? Do you want to start there of where the video kind of?
So let's actually start at I'm not a lawyer, but who is where I get my news from,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
Actually, I'm lying. I don't want to start there. You know
All
where
right.
I want to start
Tell
from?
me. Tell me.
I want to start from, was it called Making the Band? Was
Yes.
that the name of it?
Yes. The cheesecake.
That is where I said something ain't
Mm,
something ain't right about this dude.
mm.
When he made those kids walk to, and I had no concept, I had never been
Of
to New
distance.
York,
Yeah.
of how far Junior's was from wherever was, but the kids seemed rather outraged about it. So I was like, they must be mad far, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
I don't know what the what comes after mad, brick far, or if that's just for cold. But anyway, I gotta brush up on my New York
On your New
lingo.
York lingo.
When I saw that, and I don't even remember what year that
Oh
was,
God, no.
but I was like, some some ain't right with him. And I could never really like get into him.
Mm.
Um recently someone was like, oh yeah, you ain't never heard Diddy Dirty Money, and I
Mm.
was like, I don't even know what that is. And also no, right? So they were like, oh man, it's the thing, and I was like, okay, but also, so send me your favorite song, like send me the best song and let
Right.
me give it a go. I couldn't take it seriously
Mm.
because the whole time, like, I don't even know who's in the group and ain't in the group, but the whole time you just hear him in the back. Yeah, just creeper mode. Like, I just could never. I just could
Wow.
never. So
Now,
that's my like background with him. So this is coming from, and I guess this was a good place to start, because this is coming from someone who has never really been a fan of
mm-hmm,
this man, or
mm-hmm,
like, not, yes, the artist, like I liked Biggie and I liked Total and
yeah,
Faith, and the whole Bad Boy Entertainment
mm-hmm,
90s R&B era.
the movement, yeah, it was where the music.
Appreciated that, but him as a person, I ain't never been a fan of this
Mm-hmm,
man, so I think that's important for me to say, because that's the
gotcha.
angle I'm also coming from. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was more. I mean, I definitely watched, the making the bands and all that kind of stuff, and it was entertainment for what it was. And I think it wasn't until maybe more recently that I was just like, okay, he's an interesting character. But I mean, you've always heard, or kind of got the feeling that his passion and need for control really surpassed the studio and
Mm-hmm.
reached into his personal life. And then there were just, there's always been so many stories circulating around him, and like suppositions of what he was involved in or what he wasn't, and how it, ties into the hip hop community, but you never really got a sense of what was true or not. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so because he also played, it's weird to say he played a background role because he is such a big person. But he wasn't like the front face of the music, is I guess what I'm saying. So it
Right.
was easier to kind of just,
Yeah.
let him
Because he's the
exist.
producer. His
Right.
hands is all on it, but
He's in
he's not the
everything,
face
but
of.
he's not the
Yeah.
face of it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So it's kind of easy to allow him to kind of just exist in the background. But now that a lot of this has happened, when you really think of how he is just the face of everything. I mean, you look at Sean John, you look at Ciroc, you look at DeLeon, you look at all of these brands that he's the face of, you look at the careers that he's influenced, even just him as like a host for different parties, different awards, different shows. Like, his presence is huge, and we talked about, we didn't talk, but just talking about even when the allegations and everything first came out with Cassie's lawsuit,
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, it
Mm-hmm.
was it was I found myself on the fence because,
Really?
because when stuff first comes out, you're like, what does this look like? What's going to happen? And I knew immediately, either way, as soon as she filed the lawsuit, I had even said, I was like, he's never going to be the same, guilty or not. Like, even if he is innocent, just the fact that someone has said this about him with this
Mm-hmm.
amount of detail, with this amount of description of, like, because what she put in her statement was alarming. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's frightening to think that someone
Mm-hmm.
lived through this. And so it's like, okay, even if it's not true, like, let's just say she got up one day and decided she wanted to be a Pulitzer Prize winning white writer and just make
Mm-hmm.
up this lie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing that's going to ever be able to walk back this allegation because it's out there. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so then I'm like, if it is true, I'm like, why didn't you just pay her? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know what
Mm-hmm.
happened in y'all's relationship,
Mm-hmm.
outside of everything between you, her, and God. You know what happened. So when she came to you and said, look, my nigga, I need some money.
Mm-hmm.
If that's how she came to
Mm-hmm.
however
Mm-hmm.
that conversation
Mm-hmm.
looked like,
You should have
you're,
just did it.
you should have gave it to her.
But you're
Because,
arrogant.
and that's my thing with him, is that paints the picture of
How
how
bad it was.
much how bad it was, and how much he's been able to get away with in his career. Because he
So,
felt like, knowing there is possibly video witnesses, actual hospital records, what have you, of how I've treated this girl, but I can probably still beat this. And I am going to go out in the media, say that my character is being maligned, that
Yep.
I am being drugged through the mud, and that time will only tell the truth. When I
Yes.
know that I am lying.
Absolutely.
Like the
Absolutely. Absolutely. But this the thing, when you said the things he's gotten away with, right? So this guy, Keefe D,
Mhm.
came out. I don't know if it was last year or earlier. This year time kind of is
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
vacuum for me.
COVID
A
stole
lot
time.
happened, things. But within the last 2 or 3 years, this dude, Keefe D, spoke out and said that Diddy hired him to kill Pac
Right.
and did a whole interview about it.
Yeah.
Okay. I watched the interview. The man described it, all of this, whatever. He did, I want to say he did 2 interviews. Anyway, I watched the interview.
Yeah.
Nobody talked about it.
Right.
Nobody talked about it. The man described in detail what happened, right? Okay, nobody talked about it. So when the lawsuit came out, there was still a large faction of people who were saying, well, we got to wait until we see all the evidence and all the things and blah, 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 blah. I know people in real life, that had to see the video to say, okay,
Oh.
now he went a little bit too far, even for me.
That's when that heavy side eyeing the people, for sure.
And that's what I want to make sure that we make a point. I need y'all to pay attention to how people are responding. This is one of those things for me. I'm one of the people when R. Kelly got when not when he got caught, just when it was like there is
Something.
more than a preponderance of evidence.
Right.
Like we've been hearing this for years, and this
Year.
before the internet really even existed. I ain't know nobody in Chicago,
Right.
right? But we've been hearing this for years. I have zero problems believing, understand this. But then when it got to the point where there was a preponderance of evidence, and you cannot deny this, like we done had Surviving R. Kelly 1, 2, 3, 4, the after the season, the reunion, like, and you still following this man. That's a hard line for me. That's a hard line for me because I don't understand how you can make that make sense. I
Right.
just don't. And that might be supremely judgmental. And I'm going to have to own that and I'll take that up with the Lord. Diddy is the same line for
Mhm.
me because it should not have taken this video to come out for people to now be saying, oh, well, maybe it did happen. And I don't want to jump too far,
Right.
but the this video, my actions in this video,
Right.
what happened in this
Correct.
video.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Because you can tell. Yeah, we'll have to figure out when we want to. Because it's hard
Just
to
bring
just.
it up. Just bring the things
But
up. Just say the things because
we're
it
here.
ain't go. Just go.
Things are here. But yeah, because it's like you in the video, you can tell like there was no fear from him
Mm-hmm.
of someone stepping in, anyone stopping it. Oh, let
Correct.
me look around. Let me like.
Correct.
He felt perfectly comfortable in
Absolutely.
behaving the way he behaved and knew that he would be able to be in control of whatever that situation was.
Absolutely.
Um, I wonder because I think, and I don't know if they've said it, but did this video come from the raid on his house?
I don't know. I don't know where I I don't know where it was gotten from because they said he paid someone fifty thousand
For the video.
dollars
Right.
for him to have the video.
Right.
So if the video was in his possession, unless somebody else had recorded it, then it would have had to come from the raid, which is
Right.
also a very sick ass thing to be keeping these trophies of all the abuses that you have committed.
But that's what she even said in her thing that he would
I
make
know.
her watch
I know.
the videos of things that they had done that she thought she had erased that weren't there anymore. And so it's like, not only are you active in abusing her, sexually aside from physically, you're now re-victimizing her by having her rewatch this, and that's
the cycle of abuse.
absolutely.
And that's what people don't understand is that. So there were a lot of folks that I saw on my timeline that are from various city, insert city XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shoot, if he would have tried that with a so-and-so chick, then I would have da. I need y'all to understand that abuse does not start there.
No.
This is something that was progressive over years. By the time he got to that point doing that, he'd been doing that for a long ass time.
Yeah.
It is very insensitive and ignorant as in not knowing, to make statements like that. And this is why I say we have to pay attention to how people are handling this situation, because fuck Diddy. There are people in our lives in abusive relationships, and you are not a safe person to come to because you think only stupid people, only this people, only those people can find themselves in these situations.
Right. Or
So
she deserved it because he was providing this lifestyle for her.
She signed up for
she
this
knew
life.
what she was right.
You knew what you was getting into. The level of ignorance and insensitivity, and honestly, you're not a safe person.
Right.
For somebody to come to say this is what I'm experiencing. You're not a safe person if that's how you think.
Right.
Because y'all think I was sitting in my bedroom dreaming about being in a relationship with some dude who had the nerve to fucking put his hands on me? Like, that's what y'all think? People is growing up and being like, I think I want to get my ass beat every day. Like the level of ridiculousness, the way that this happens is like a grooming process.
It is a grooming process. She was
it is a grooming process.
When they got together.
He
was grooming her from the beginning. This is a case study. You not only were her lover at whatever point that happened, we're going to use that term loosely, coercion and all, but you at some point were in a romantic relationship with her. You were her boss because she was signed to your label for 10 records.
Wow.
10 Cassie.
Wow.
But no shade. But like, come on. So that's why it really threw me when people were like, well, she knew what she was getting into. She wanted to be in the business, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you have this person who is in control of your life, every facet of your life. And the people that would normally support you and help you and say, hey, girl, you need to get out of this. He is also funding their lives. He has completely taken away your support system and made you rely wholly on him. So at that point, really, do you have a choice?
Right.
Like, it's these false choices that people are like, oh, well, why didn't you do that? She could have left at any time. Do you not understand that we are watching the video of her trying to leave? This is what happens when
but
she
then
tries
also,
to leave.
How about she did wind up leaving, and then she came back because he told her that her or whatever was supposed to get released wasn't going to get released. Yep. She came back to the hotel and the people told her to leave because they had seen the video.
It's ridiculous.
Like, and that's the thing is like, I I had tried to talk to, and I often try to talk to people who are in positions who want to support someone who is in an
Mhm.
abusive relationship, because it is not easy.
Right.
And it is so delicate, but it is so needed, because it is the most isolating experience ever, right? Because when things first start happening, you you feel like, okay, this probably shouldn't be happening, right? But there's always some type of power dynamic that's going on. So it's like, okay, this probably shouldn't be happening. So you kind of might mention like the lightness of it to your friends, just kind of toss it out there, see
Toss
what
it out,
happens,
see what
right?
the reaction.
And depending on what the reactions are, and a lot of times the reactions are very, very much, cause girl, and right. And so now you feel stupid because you didn't even tell them the actuality of what happened. You just told them like the bare minimum. So they already like this stupid, but then you feel trapped for whatever reason that a power dynamic is here, right?
Mm.
So then you're like, okay, so maybe I can go to somebody else, or like at what point do I like pull the trigger? You start doing research about how do I get out of this? Like, it is so consuming. So to come to people, or to want to be able to come to people to ask for help, is like the most embarrassing thing. I don't even know, to this day, I don't even know if I shared the totality of what happened with my therapist at the time, or any therapist, actually, for that matter. Um, because it's like, oh, just okay, I need to like, whoo, all right, got out of
I
that.
talked
Whoo,
about it.
we are
All right,
healing like
move.
things. Yes, all
Right.
right.
Moved on
You
past.
know, all right. But where is the safe place to be able to say like these are the things, when people around you are making you feel like you're stupid for being in that situation, and you already feel stupid, trust me and
Your
believe me.
internal tape is already tearing you apart.
Oh baby, tearing you from limb to limb. Okay, so it's not that easy. I feel like anytime that we fix our mouths to say, why don't somebody just do, shut up, whatever you was finna say, shut up, it ain't, you
Just
don't know.
if it was just, they would have. They would have. If it was just, they would have. And most people in domestic violence relationships, that is when they often lose that battle with domestic violence, trying to leave.
Yes, it is incredibly dangerous. It
Yeah.
is incredible. The last night that I had to ever see my abuser, I was like, I was finally like, we could just do this. Like, I had lost all shame, all embarrassment. I had started writing about it in my blog. So, like, it was more and more known. And I was just like, we doing this today? Perfect. Let's have a show.
Right.
Fine. All the way to the point that I had to call the police. And even after that, I was still, he wound up leaving, but I was looking over my shoulder that whole night thinking, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? And I looked over my shoulder for months after that. What is going to happen? Because I found out he had been stalking me. I found like it was so wild. So it's not that easy. Like, it's just not that simple. And I need us to be more empathetic and more curious about how can I support, how
Yeah.
can I hold space, how can I show up, right? Because when, and there are plans, y'all, that have to be made.
Right.
Like, especially, I am so thankful I didn't marry that man.
Mm.
I'm thankful I didn't marry him, and I'm thankful that the video when he proposed to me disappeared into thin air, because I don't even want the memory.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't even happy. Like, I just knew that I had to say yes, because if I didn't say yes, it was going to be some problems,
Right.
right? And then on top of, in my situation, it was a lot of religious manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
So I had went to his parents who were pastors, right? Ain't that what you're supposed to do? Go to the
Go to the
pastor?
church, talk to the pastor.
Went to the pastors, and the pastor said, oh,
His parents.
his parents, the past. Oh,
Did you see TD Jake's sermon?
which one?
He did one about domestic violence related to Diddy. And he
No.
even had a part where he was like, as a young
Wait, where'd you go? Wait, come back. She was about to say something real good. Hold on, y'all. Okay.
There we go.
There you go. I'm like,
Okay.
girl, what happened? Okay, he said, what, as a young pastor?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I can't hear you for some reason.
You can't hear me? You're going to have to be able to hear me, girl. Nah, you can't not hear me.
Let's
She done,
see.
you done broke something. See, this is the kind of stuff that happens, y'all, on purpose, so we can have something to laugh about. Because otherwise, now she's sitting here tap dancing.
Be right back.
Fix your sound, girl. I realized I was so nervous before we got on here. Like I haven't talked about this stuff in a really long time. And I was so, I don't know, just all of a sudden, probably like 2 minutes before I pressed the live button, I was like, oh my God, like I just felt it everywhere. And when I tell you what I love about my cousin is she gonna make sure that she just her, like she brings this light. My mother used to say to us, we had gone on this cruise one time to Jamaica, and when we were on the cruise, we had sat down at a table, and the people that were at the table with us seemed like they maybe had been arguing or something. So, but they on a cruise, like you gonna have dinner with the same people the whole time, like while you're on the cruise. So, it's like me and Kalanda made this conscious choice to like change the environment. So we just sat down and we're being us. And, both of us, we didn't know at the time, but neurodivergent as hell. So we just sit here laughing about stuff and all that kind of stuff. And by the time that dinner was over, like everything had changed. They were laughing with each other. Like it was just so interesting. So my mom has said, we change the atmosphere when we walk into places. She was like, both of y'all just change the atmosphere when you walk into places. So I wouldn't have wanted to have this conversation anywhere else, because these types of things happen at like the moments that they need to happen. Because that's what we do. So,
hey y'all. I'm back.
hey girl, welcome back. Do
Hey,
you remember what you were saying though? Because I don't.
Yes. It was
Great.
she said, because I don't. It's I was like TD Jakes.
TD Jakes, got it.
I put my brain people to work. I was like, don't move this box. They be quick to put stuff away, girl. All right. So like, done with that? Like, no, I didn't say it yet.
We need this.
No, so TD Jakes was saying how as a young pastor, they were taught to keep the family together at all costs. If somebody comes to you and they have this conversation, you say, God can work it out. He can do everything. Like, y'all need to stay together. This is how this works. And he's like, over time, I had to realize that, that is true. Christ can do it all. But some of the stuff he has to do from a distance. Like, you don't need to be in this situation in order to make that happen. If you are in that and you are going to church to say like, hey, I need help, the answer should not be stay in it, figure it out. You have to, help find a way to get them out of there. So it was interesting. He did a whole kind of sermon of saying like, you need help. This is not normal. Like, this is not okay. Like, and I was really impressed to see that he addressed it in front of his congregation. So, because they already have their.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I'm gonna have to look.
I'm gonna skip mine and send it to you.
Yeah, and even we could probably put the link into the description and stuff. Can you do me a favor? Can you look up the number for the hotline?
Yes.
So yeah, the amount of people that stay in these situations because of poor advice that has come from this is the thing that I want y'all to understand. Let me move my mic a little closer because I also need y'all to understand. Pastors are not necessarily mental health specialists. Okay. I need you to understand that some pastors, their expertise runs out at their lived experience. And it is supremely important for us to seek professional help from people who have professional credentials. Right. So if your pastor is not a licensed clinical social worker, your pastor is not a doctor of psychology, your pastor, it's not good enough for them to have taken a psychology class. Okay. It's not good enough for them to have a bachelor's in psychology. Okay. It's not good enough. Because what will happen is you will get poor advice. And then again, when there are power dynamics and such involved, and religion is one that has us, specifically Black women, in a chokehold.
Mhm.
In a chokehold. And we take abuse from the church. We take abuse from so many different places that we become desensitized to it.
Mhm.
And then we wind up staying in situations, right? So I just want us to make sure that we are actually seeking professional counsel in these situations and not thinking I went to talk to my pastor and that didn't help it and therefore there is no help. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Um, I will also say therapy is necessary to process this information and process your experiences. So if you are someone who in I was about to say who has experienced abuse and domestic violence, but I also want to go back to something that you said at the beginning because we saw a physical, not we saw a lot more than
Collective, we, yes.
many people saw a physically violent situation. They are thinking about this in isolation. So you had mentioned earlier about the different types of abuses that exist, and I would like for you to talk a little bit more about what you were talking about.
Oh yeah. Saying that there's, the physical abuse, which I think is the most prevalent that people think of when they think of an abusive relationship of physically, you know, attacking someone's personage, causing harm. Um, but there's also mental abuse, if it's degrading you, if it's putting you down, making you feel as if no one's going to love you the way I love you. I'm the only one that can take care of you, that can see you this way, or if you've had, people have lived multiple lives before they get in relationships. And sometimes when you get with certain people, they can identify that part of those past lives have made you vulnerable, or you feel ashamed, or shame regarding where you came from. And they will use that to keep you tied to them, to say, you're not worthy. Like,
Yeah.
right, no, if anyone else knew this about you, they wouldn't be able to put that behind them and love you. I'm the only
Mm.
one that can do that. So now you're in a situation where you're putting up with things that you wouldn't naturally do, just in order to keep this person's love and affection, what have you, with you. Um, would be like the emotional side. And then there's financial abuse, where if you're unable to work or you're not working for whatever reason and you have to rely on this person for your shelter, for food, just for the ability to have natural human basic needs met. Again, they all kind of step, not kind of, they all stem back to a power struggle, a power dynamic where there is one who has the ability to control the other person. And that those are just a few of the ways that they show up. The domestic violence is the one that typically has the physical scars that are visible. But there are so many other ways that you can abuse someone that does not leave scars, and that a lot of times preys on people's vulnerabilities that already exist. Which is why it's just so heartbreaking that you can see someone because they have the emotional intelligence enough to see the pain in this person, and instead of saying, how do I help this, how do I make this better, how can I show this person true love, they take that vulnerability and they twist it and say, okay, how can I get them under my thumb, how can I make them do what I want to do, how can I make them my victim, and it's a choice. It is
It
a
is.
choice. It's not
It is.
something that's an accident. It's not something that you did that caused it. It's not your fault. You didn't do it. This person saw something and they said, I know what to do with
I
this.
want to take advantage of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And framing it that way maybe makes it more outrageous, I hope, because it's not something that just happens.
No.
It's a pattern. It's a cycle. It's who the person is.
Hmm.
Um because there are many of us who wake up and we think about how can we help heal the world,
Right. Right.
right? That's the choice that we choose to make.
Yeah.
How can I help somebody smile
Yeah.
today? How can I, like, there are many of us that
Right.
do that.
Like I know you and I
So,
will say, like, I want to leave people better. If
absolutely.
you have an interaction with me, regardless of what it looks like, at the end of it, I hope that you come out feeling a little bit lighter, just from
Yes.
whatever we talked about. It doesn't, like,
Yes.
nothing big, whatever it is, like that's that's the goal. But
Yeah.
realizing there are people who
Correct.
don't have that and who are
Correct.
actively going out for the opposite. How can I tear you
Correct.
down? How can I break you down? How can I control you?
Correct. How can I use you for my benefit? How
Exactly.
can I find how I almost equate it to they see the light that you have and they think to themselves, how can I
I
suck
want
the rest of that out of you and put it into me?
right, but not
You
realizing
know,
you can get that other way.
correct. You don't correct,
You don't have
but
to, but that's what they know. That's what they know. That's what
correct.
they've seen. That's what they've been taught. They had a I don't know if it was a am I the asshole, because now that I'm thinking of the story, I don't know why they would have thought they were the asshole. But this girl said she was, I don't think they were married. For the sake of the argument, let's say they weren't married because I don't remember.
Hmm.
But they she was with her partner and he told her that she smelled bad. He's like, you just smell like body odor. And so she said it would just really, like, get with her. And she's like, I became the weird person who was like self-consciously trying to, like, sniff her armpits and be like, okay, do I
Hmm.
stink? Like, do I smell good?
Hmm. Hmm.
And he would
Hmm.
consistently, like, just at times be like, oh my gosh, like, you just don't smell good. Like, and so she's like, I'm brushing my teeth every time I put anything in my mouth that wasn't water. I'm taking showers like 3 times a day. Like, I'm constantly going, oh my gosh, do I stink? Do I stink? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And so she said, finally, it had been going on for years. She felt awful about herself. She's like, this is, just demeaning and demoralizing all over. And she said one time she knew, she's like, I had just taken a shower. I had on, like, prescription strength deodorant. I brushed my teeth. Like, there was no reason, no way that he could say I smelled bad. She had gone to the doctor, everything. And
Hmm.
he told her that she smelled.
Hmm.
And she's like, what is it that you're smelling? Like, you have
Hmm.
to be able to tell me, because I know for a fact I've done XYZ. There's no way possible. I don't smell anything. Like,
Hmm.
what's
Hmm.
happening? This man told her that his dad did that to his mom. and that his dad told him, you know, if you tell them that, they'll, know that they'll think that no one else will love them. They won't be able to cheat on you. They're gonna stay with you. They're not gonna leave. And it's gonna like tear them down, and you'll be able to do whatever you need to do in your marriage. He was literally taught it. And what's happening out now may not be that extreme, but there are so many variations of that. If someone
Well,
isn't explicitly telling you, they're showing you in the relationships that they have. So when you're, when
I
people
was
are
going to say I'm an example of that because I was taught to never be honest about how much money you have.
right.
Always lie and say that you need more money, even if you have money.
Mm-hmm.
I was taught that. That was a lesson consistently. So I can believe it. Like you said, it comes in many different forms, but that's an example of financial abuse
Right.
that existed, that I was being taught how to be a financial abuser and a
Right.
liar and a liar. And to think I was getting my ass beat for lying and you teaching me to lie. I just fucking connected that.
It's the level of what's appropriate. It's a yeah.
I'm gonna have to unpack that in therapy next
And
week.
she
'Cause
said,
damn it,
"Wait a minute."
I used to. And so even on that point, the question might be like, what is the work that I need to do, right, on myself if I feel like I'm in this situation? Like, how do I heal and how do I process this situation? I want to reiterate that what Kalanda said of this is not your fault, right? The fact that somebody decided to victimize you is not your fault. The fact that somebody decided to treat you less than you deserve to be treated is not your fault. So it's I don't want it to be thought of as how do I fix myself? Clearly I'm broken, right? I'm in this situation. So how do I fix it? Right?
Right.
That's not the framing that I want us to think about.
Right.
What I want us to think about is where in the past was I taught that this is all that I deserve?
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to spend some time getting to know yourself. This is not a commercial, but also it very much is.
Right.
My process of building myself back up to be able to get out of an abusive relationship is how I wrote my curriculum for my life coaching. I had gone to therapy because my pastor at the time had suggested that we stop having sex and that we go to therapy, right? That's probably one of the best things. It was a lot of trauma over that church, but that is one of the best things that came out of it. So I got to therapy, and my therapist was asking me for like 2 years, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And I was like, girl, I don't know. And
Right.
you keep asking me this. I'm talking every week.
Right.
Ma'am, I don't know. And
Right.
then one day my answer was, I want peace.
Mm.
I want peace.
That's it.
So she said, okay, that's the start.
There you
So
go.
she said, I want you to she said, I want you to take this spiritual gifts test. She's like, I want you to take this spiritual gifts test and we'll talk about it next week. Right. So I take the spiritual gifts test. We talk about it the next week. And discernment was high on the list. So This is when I discovered, did I tell you that I be seeing filters over people's faces? I'm
Yeah.
sure I probably said this to you
Yes.
before.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is when I figured out what it was
Right.
because I thought I was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So she was explaining to me that discernment, feels like this and looks like this because again, I had spent so much time disconnected from my body. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even paying attention to how people felt around me.
Right.
Or how I felt
How you
around people, I mean.
yeah.
Yeah, how I felt around people. So she was like, this is how discernment might show up like this. It might show up as feeling tense. It might show up as, you can't quite put your finger on it, but you just feel unsettled. It might show up as upset stomach, like blah, 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 right? So I was like, oh, because sometimes when I look at people, I feel like I see distorted, she was like, yes, right? Okay. So then I got curious
Mm-hmm.
about that. So then I started doing some additional research, and the path that I took is how I wrote my life coaching curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
And it is how I understood why somebody would choose to try to dim my light, because I understood and I'm still understanding, but at
Right.
that time I understood that what I was carrying in the way that I show up, in the way that I have the nerve to keep getting up, in the way that I have the nerve to keep living, like they wanted that
Mm-hmm.
and they were jealous of that. And the stability and how I'm excelling in my career and I'm getting this and I done bought a house and they were so jealous of that. So it helped me to understand so much about me. And it's why I am so passionate when I do have the opportunity to take people on the journey with Discover Your Destiny, because it was the way that I discovered me.
Right.
It was the way that I was able to understand and process this wasn't my fault. This, you know what I mean? And that's the hope and dream that I have for anybody who is in this situation, any person of whatever gender that you identify, because abuse is not gender specific.
At all. And neither one of us have said it's one or the other. There are so many men that are being abused as well. And the stigma around that keeps them in the cycle of abuse because
And
there are
it's worse for
safe
them.
spaces, like you said, for them to be able to say, hey, like something's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, I don't know. I wish that I could help people understand the complexities.
Yeah.
I really do. On all sides of it. Those who are in it, those who've never been in it, those who want to support those who are in it, those who think they ain't gonna never be able to be in it. Like, I just wish I could explain the complexities and the layeredness of it all. Because it's not a just situation. It's not a we'll just leave or just go or just don't do that no more.
Right.
Like, just get
Stop,
another
stop making
job.
them mad. What?
That,
What? What did you
li-
do? That's the one. When people have the nerve to be like, well, what did she do? And for this one, I'm specifically talking about Cassie, but
mhm,
like, why? What would be the appropriate answer?
right.
Like,
What
what would she have had to have done
correct. That
in
would have
order
made this
for you
appropriate.
to forgive this grown ass man chasing her down, dragging her around, kicking her, and then
Throwing
stuff?
stuff at her.
Like, what is acceptable? What would she have had to have done in order to make that okay? Like, sir, and he has daughters.
I
Like,
know.
that's the like,
I know. I know. I know.
you have daughters.
I know. It makes me so grieved for what those girls have seen.
Oh my god.
I wonder what their mother went through.
Right.
Um, she's no longer here to tell her story,
And
which is that's why
rumors
I
are-
was like,
then there are rumors around
so
that.
I know, I know. Like it's how do you as a young lady navigate a life of wanting to find a partner when all you have seen growing up your whole life is abuse?
Right.
How? It is so difficult. Like the ways that I had to deprogram my mind from the way that I was raised to be and the things that I saw and the ways that I thought was normal because it was my life. Like
Right.
it's normal to come home and clothes are under the carport. It's
Right.
normal to come home and the locks are changed. It's like these things are normal. Like
Everybody, it happens to everybody. And they're like,
it's normal for a member of the family to not be in the house from time to time every 2 months or so. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like had to, I really had to do like a power wash of my brain to even, I, that high school sweetheart of mine, God bless his soul. Cause let me tell you, I was a terror. I'm talking just ridiculous cussing, just saying anything that came to my mind. He was so patient with me because that's what I knew. That's how you supposed
that's how
to
you talk.
talk.
This is how you deal. This is how you get your
I
point across. This
I
is
didn't know. I didn't know any better. And it was the first time that somebody like had the patience enough to be like, you sound like you're upset right now. I'm gonna call you back later. Like it was mind blowing.
yeah.
But this is my point is like this is a pattern. Like this is something that is watched and seen and a lot of people don't know that even many people don't even know that they're in an abusive relationship
Right.
because this is all they know.
These are the
They
how
don't even
relationships
know.
look. I mean, it's really like just looking at the premise of our podcast of these are the things that we thought were normal. This was how life went. Everybody puts syrup on their grilled cheese. That's just how you eat that sandwich. And it's not, and until, like you said, until you run into, get involved with, open yourself up to someone who is able and willing to say, it doesn't have to be like this.
Yeah.
Like, does that feel good to you? Because it doesn't have to be like this. Or someone who's just steadfast in their commitment to showing you that there is different. And it's a blessing to come into those things. And the part that's scary about that though is you can be so embroiled in that cycle and in what chaos looks like and the comfort of chaos that you push away a lot of those relationships because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel normal. It's like, well,
What you want?
what is
It
this?
seemed like who sent you?
What are you doing?
Who sent you?
Something. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. And you literally can't put your finger on it because it's not wrong. It's not wrong. It just doesn't feel comfortable. And so for those girls, I hope, we have certainly evolved into a more open, I don't know, society around therapy and be in self exploration and really understanding what those trauma wounds look like, that hopefully they're able to get an earlier start because otherwise it is trial and error, and until you get involved with that one person that does break that cycle for you, you're going to repeat it until you get tired, until you physically say, you know what, I have had enough. Like this can't be the way it's supposed to be, and hopefully you get to that before it's too late, because there's some people who decide to opt out and say, I don't want to do
Well,
this.
that's what I was gonna say because the I'm tired can look very different, because if you've been fighting for so long, that I'm tired is not, it doesn't look like leaving,
Right.
especially if you don't have a support
Right.
system to help you establish, and a soft place to land, to offer some grace and healing and repairing of your heart. Like, it just, I told you I had talked to those college students
Mhm.
recently, and I'm just remembering my 20s, because I got into that relationship when I was 26, 25.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't want anybody to have to go through what I went through. And I just be like, I be like, people just need to hear. If they just hear, then they'll tell somebody who tells somebody. Like, I just need people to hear that, um, that, like, recognize these signs, like, know these things, know that you're supposed to feel better after you leave somebody who tells you that they love you. Know that your spirit should feel calm around somebody who has uh, good intentions towards you. Like, I want us to be able to understand that, so that our spidey senses are, like, around. You know what I mean? Because if we can recognize it, and recognize these types of behaviors, and recognize um how to not even open the door.
Right.
The first thing that man said to me was, the first time I saw him, um he said, you're really cute. He said, don't worry, I like big girls. And what was so interesting, this was 2006, right? So I graduated from college in 2003. And I was a dancer when I was in college, and, walking everywhere and all that kind of stuff, right? So I had gained weight. At the time, I was probably like 170 pounds. So I know, right? I wish, right? I would happily rock 170 pounds today. But at the time, I had gone from like 120, 130 to like
Right.
170 pounds. So that had that whole, when you were like, no, I'm the only person that's going to love you. Like, it had that type of effect on me
Mhm.
in my early 20s, like, oh, wow, but he thinks I'm cute. It's like, I want us, when it didn't sit right with me. Like, I remember being like,
Right.
but also, I
Thank you.
am big.
Like,
I am bigger than I was. So I guess this is the size of a big girl. And I don't know. I ain't never been big like this. So I don't know how big girls, get love. I don't know. And here's this man that's, seeming like he got it all. Like, he got a BMW. Girl, that shit was held together by duct tape. Like, the damn driver's window didn't even roll down. You ain't got no air conditioning, but you driving this broke down ass hoopty, trying to like pretend like you somebody, you know what I mean? But I am, in all of my wisdom and geniusness, because there was a wound inside of me that was like, yeah, he right. So like, I want all of us to really understand who we are, and like how perfectly we have been created and designed, so nobody can walk up to us and say that bullshit. Like, it already would be like, you ain't even worth it, right? But then we got to get outside of the pressures of, you need to get married, you need to have children, you need to do this, and it needs to look like that. Like, it is just so oppressive to us, because we put ourselves in situations not knowingly, thinking that we're doing what we're supposed to
this is
do.
what we're
Like,
supposed to do.
I really thought God told me that he was going to be my husband. I don't know if that is true. Me standing here today, 43-year-old me, I don't know if that was the truth. I really don't. But I stood on that at the time and I believed it with my whole heart. And that is one of the reasons that I stayed, because I had already been engaged before and that didn't work out. Right. So now here's somebody else that well, at least they want to marry me and I'm big. So maybe this is good. And they could sing and they in the church. I'm trying to be a good Christian, trying to show myself worthy to be a future first lady. Like it's so many factors. And my heart grieves for those who are just starting their lives and are being exposed to this type of stuff in their lives. I need them to know this is not what it's supposed to look like.
Exactly. I would like to believe that there's, it's like as I'm saying it, I'm finding it not true. But I would like to believe that there are more examples of alternatives now than there used to be. You know what I mean?
I think that's fair.
Um, because before you did feel like this is the only way. And you did have to see clothes under the carport, change locks, all those things, because the message was stay no matter what.
Yeah.
We got to work it out. Well, you got married. Like we're not getting divorced. Like there's no, like, this is it. And now I think you see more people who say, okay, you know what, this isn't right. And we're not even touching on having children in these relationships and in these houses and the completely different aspect that brings to the situation about talking about how to leave. But I can tell you, children would rather be from a broken home than live in one.
I almost stood up at the wedding. Do you remember that? I don't want this. This is not helpful to me. I don't want this. I don't want this. I object.
Right.
Don't. And you was like,
like, you can't do that. You can't do that. Don't do
I
that.
don't want this. I was 12.
Right.
I've lived this enough. I don't want this. No, this is not helpful for me.
Right.
I
this
promise
permanent.
you.
Like this is permanent. Like
No, this is not it. Let's not do this. Children would absolutely rather live in separate, safe places than to be in a situation where there is constant abuse. I am willing to scream that from the mountaintops. It was not beneficial to my life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if that's something that you are struggling with, let that go.
Let go. Let that go.
Let that go.
Because all it's going to do is create coping mechanisms that they're going to have to get over as an adult. But easier said than done.
I know. I know.
Done, and I sit here as a person with no children. So, I do what you have to do. Those, but, however, all the things, they would rather be from a broken home. 100%.
Absolutely. 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 I'm grateful I'm still here.
Me too.
I really am. I think when I had processed some of the things that have happened, I really don't think I've processed a lot of the things. But I think when I made the decision to actually speak freely, I remember I went back and reread recently. And I remember just being like, I don't know how I don't even know how I'm still here.
Mm.
Like, I was like, I don't, and I mean that so many times over since
Mm.
then. Um, I I don't know. And there were people around me that knew and saw that should have protected me or should have said something, and they chose silence. And like, it was just, it's a lot, and it's a continuous like process to like think through. Um, but what I want y'all to know is that there is help. And we're putting these numbers up and putting them in the comments because I don't even remember how I think I talked about it in my blog for the first time. Like, I think that's the first time a lot of people in my life found out about what had actually happened when I talked about it in
Mm.
my blog. Um that was like the tip of the iceberg. Like,
Right.
that was like the okay, cliff notes. Like, this
Right.
is
Hey
how I
guys.
started.
Hey guys.
This this is why I stayed, okay, and this is why it took so long, and this is why now, and all of that. And why, when I said that why now, let me speak to that. To the why now. I was in that relationship officially from 2006 to 2013, but it took me another 6 years before it got to the point where it was the last conversation that I had to have with him. And there is so much to process. Like, this whole episode, we've been talking about all the things and all the reasons why somebody might not say what's going on, right? There are so many reasons of why someone chooses to speak up when they choose to speak up. It doesn't matter why now. The fact is that they are now.
Yeah.
That's it. So if you don't know what to say, you can say, thank you for being brave enough to share your story.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to even say story because I don't like that word.
Right.
Thank you for being brave enough to share your experiences or
Right.
your lived experiences, because there are people that may not ever be able to share what they lived through because their mental health is not in a space where they're able to process that information. They may have forgotten things because due to trauma. Um, but when someone is brave enough to share their story with the world and brave enough to stand up for themselves, the only response that we should have is supporting them and thanking them for sharing their story, not questioning why or questioning the validity of if they got. That's why me and Bianca be saying people lie, receipts don't. There
Mm.
was too much detail.
Right.
There
Right.
was too much detail for it to not be true.
Right.
Too much.
Right. So
So
what
if somebody got receipts, and like, what more do you
will you need?
need to believe them?
Right.
And if you need more than that, I wonder what happened to you. That's
Correct.
what I really wonder. What happened to you? And why do you think that that is a healthy response?
Hmm. So what would you? I know you said earlier that when you kind of toss out the softball, just kind of like lob it out there of, oh yeah, this might have happened. Um, for you, what do you find would be a response that would allow someone maybe to then open up and go, okay, this is a safe space. I can
Hmm.
go a little further. I can feel comfortable
Hmm.
sharing this.
Hmm. I think it's more curiosity. So my My philosophy in life is curiosity over judgment. And also, thank you for this question. Um, so if someone came to me and they said, for instance, my partner went through my phone
Mhm.
last night without me knowing and was questioning me about something happening, right? I might ask questions like, oh wow, well, how did you feel about that?
Mhm.
And allow them to talk and they share whatever their feelings were. So what is your spirit telling you that you want to do about it or whatever, right? It's
Mhm.
more asking them questions, but not from an accusatory like kind of place, but
Right.
more so what you're doing is you're gathering information so that you can think about how you want to go back and let them know that you're a safe person.
Mhm.
Because it might not be, if this is not a one-on-one conversation, if this is with several people,
Mhm.
like that might not be the appropriate time. If
Right.
this is a one-on-one conversation, then I would let that person guide the conversation, right? So if they clam up and they're just like, oh no, but that's fine. So, and then they change the subject. So then you might say something like, I understand, but I also want you to know that you can talk to me. I'm not here to judge you. And
Mhm.
you might have to say that 17 times
Right.
before they actually believe that that's true.
Right.
But those are ways that you can show that you're not judging this person, that you are receiving what they're saying, that you're actively listening,
Mhm.
and they will guide the conversation. Like they will say, if I ask somebody how they're feeling, how they felt about it, and they just say, oh, I don't know, and change the subject, they're not ready to talk about that right now.
Right. Right.
So I respect that, right? And then, okay, I just want you to know that if you ever want to talk about that, we can definitely talk about it. You don't have to feel any type of way. And then you leave that alone. But now I've collected for myself. Well, this is me. I don't know if people do
Right.
this, but this is what Kimberlyn does. So I've collected for myself another data point to understand that something they might need some additional support.
Right.
And so I want to make sure that I start asking them questions. I'm very much on not necessarily getting information about the situation. I'm more so on let me build you up.
Mhm.
So let's talk about you and who you are. And let's talk about, because I'm knowing that at the house or wherever that you're hearing some foolishness, right?
Right.
So let me talk about you and the light that you have inside of you, and what are your dreams and what does this look like, right? I'm talking to you about those things because
Right.
I want you to start believing that this is possible. When you're ready, I want you to know that it is possible,
Right.
right? And in that conversation, all types of things could be dropped. Like, oh yeah, well, you should come to Columbia and
Right.
and hang out sometime. Let me know. I'll get you a ticket.
Right.
Let me know, right? You know what I mean? Like you just kind of start planting seeds so
Right.
that they know when it is time that they have a safe place to go. That's what I would say.
That's awesome. Thank you. And I know that'll help, a lot of people because you may not know what to say,
Hmm.
and like you said, people may not be ready to go into the full conversation. It was just kind of let me just jump up
Yeah,
a little bit, but it does plant that seed and offer a place for them to come for support when they are ready or as they
right.
move through the process of being ready.
Correct. Because it's definitely a process.
Yeah.
It is definitely a process, and the more layers that are there of all the different layers of abuse that you mentioned, the more extensive the process is. So that's another philosophy I adopted, is like everybody's at a different space in their process.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, before being in this situation, I was very judgmental of people in these situations. I always used to ask why they stayed at my own house.
Mm.
Why? Like, I didn't ask you to do that. Why is this still a thing? You know,
That's what y'all like.
but
That's what you like. You like this?
I
Can't be
don't.
good.
This ain't how this looks on
Don't
the
look fun.
Disney Channel. I
Don't
just
look fun.
want you to know this is not what's happening over there on
Claire
Disney
would never. Claire and
at
Princess would
all.
never.
Yeah, but
Lord have
But
mercy.
yeah, like it's a process. It's a process. So understand that somebody may be at a different space in their process. They might not be ready to leave tomorrow,
Mhm.
right? But when they are, can they count on you?
Right.
Um, I think that is probably the biggest thing. And that is so much easier said than done because I understand. And I don't know, maybe you can speak a little bit too, which I don't know how much you knew when was happening. I don't know.
Yeah, it was
Would
more the after the blog post
okay.
or anything because we hadn't spoken about it
Uh-huh.
prior. So it was,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how did that feel for you, I guess, in retrospect, even reading, and then you was probably pissed. She was probably like, this bitch ain't called me.
Like, why
Girl.
didn't you say anything? But I mean, and that was just more out of the I'd do anything I could to protect you. You
I
know what I
know.
mean? And it's like you realize in reading that and in seeing your experience just how hard that had to have been, and then for to see how long it had been of how long you had been feeling like that. Uh,
Hmm.
and then there's also that part of being that family member of going, how did I fail her? Like how did
Mm,
I not show up enough so that she knew that she could have been safe in a different
mm.
situation, and then finding a way out of that and going, it's not about you.
Right.
No, it's not about you, but saying, okay, what can I do now? Like, what does she need now? Is there anything,
Hmm.
and putting yourself in a position to be there if needed, and
Yeah.
let that be okay, and not taking it personally if, um, someone didn't come to you, like maybe you just weren't that resource for this situation, and that's
Yeah.
100%
I
okay,
think that's important. I
you
think that's
know,
important.
because
Yeah.
that's why I said I had to like get out of the it's not about you. It's not, you can put your cape up. Like you didn't have the right cape for this job, somebody
Yeah.
did. And you have to be like you have to understand that and then go, I'm just glad that you found a way out and that you found your voice and that you found your strength in it and that it didn't break you,
Yeah.
because that's not everybody's story.
I know.
Um so I mean, that was just the biggest thing was just, you don't want to see the people that you love in pain. And
Hmm.
anything that you can do to avoid that, you try. Um, and I don't know. I don't have a personal point of view for domestic violence, but like sexual abuse, I do. But like just knowing everybody handles it differently,
Yeah.
and to just be there and to not just really to not take anything personally, because
Hmm.
during the recovery process, people are still actively trying to get better, and
Yeah.
they may not be themselves for a while. So just being
And
mindful.
while y'all
It's
is
infinite, still happening,
right.
still
So
happening.
that too, I think is important for on all sides it is because even for myself and even with our current like healing journey that we're on, I try to hurry it up. Come on, let's
Let's
get to
go. I'm
it.
ready. I'm ready to be good. Ready to be
We
okay.
got stuff to do. I ain't got time to still be dealing with this. That's not quite how it works. It
That's
doesn't work like that at all. It's healing is not linear,
correct.
right? So that's where the grace and the empathy and the compassion, look into. If you are listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, I really do want to be able to support, look into trauma informed practices so that, like courses about that. That's one of the things that I specialize in because it helps you to shift from this what did you do like type of situation to what happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
What happened and how can I see that and give compassion and empathy there.
Mm-hmm.
um that is the most helpful thing that can be done, because one moment we think we're fine and then the next moment something happens and we're not, you
Correct.
know. I had a situation where somebody that I'm very cool with grabbed me one day, and I was like, do not ever in your life put your hands on me like that. And they were just trying to get my attention, right? They were like, oh my God, look, hey,
Not okay.
don't do that
Yeah.
to me, right? Like you never know when a trigger might pop up.
Correct.
So if you are choosing to be in a position of supporting someone who is currently in a situation, recently exited a situation, or has ever been in a situation, please, grace, compassion, and empathy. It's a process. If you're wondering what happened, like Kalanda said, it's not about you. And that reaction, for instance, that happened that I had, the question should be, I'm sorry, what, how did I just trigger you, or what just happened?
Right.
Talk to me about how I made you feel just
Right.
now, because that was not my intention and I want to understand.
Right.
Please share with me how I just made you feel, and be willing to accept that and understand that if it wasn't right, if it was an off thing, like they were just grabbing me to get my attention, okay, I won't ever do that to you
Right.
again.
Right.
One. And two, thank you for sharing that with me, because now it helps me understand how I can love you better.
Right. That's all anybody wants.
That's it. Is to be loved and to be seen and to be heard and to be understood.
That's it.
That's it. You know? So
Okay.
any other thoughts before we roll out of here?
I think that was phenomenal. Just check on your people. And sometimes if you get an inkling, because just like you said with Diddy, it wasn't something people could put a finger on. It just feels a little off, and take that time to see the people that you love. We have this habit of going, "How you doing?" just as a meeting of greeting, but not actually waiting for that answer and seeing what that actually looks like. Take time, if someone hasn't talked to you in a while about anything other than current events and
The
memes.
weather and
Yeah, like, take a second to check in. It means the world. Even if they don't share anything at that moment, they go, at least, you know what, I know this person was genuinely curious about me and what was happening with me. And then that can put them on the radar of, okay, this is someone that I could possibly go to. So
yes. That's good. That's good, cousin.
that's
No, for real. I felt that. I felt that.
true. That's true.
That's good. Yeah. So we thank y'all for listening, sharing, receiving, holding space, being here to support. Our ask is that you share this with wherever and whomever your spirit is led to share it,
Mm.
and introduce them to this space. Kalanda said a little bit ago, the reason that we started this is because we realized that some things were not what they call normal. And we was like, we need to talk about this because there's probably other people out there that need to talk about this kind of stuff too.
Mm.
So those are the people that we're looking for to be a part of this community. Um, we have previous episodes that are over on Minding My Black Ass Business Facebook page. So please do go over there and check out our other episodes where we have had some shenanigans, as well as serious conversations, as well as foolery. Like it's a lot, and we always promise that you will leave better than you came. That is something that we both live by. So Minding My Black Ass Business on all platforms. If you are interested in hearing more about or reading more about me and my journey and the blog that I was referencing, you can go to my website, kimberlynjackson.com. My blog is called Free to Be Me, and I have shared a few things about, I think there are 13 posts there now. I don't blog as often as I used to, but sometimes I go back over there and write something. But would love to have you all read that and leave a comment. If you do, all of that means something very special to me. I am actually the one putting my eyes on it. So I see those messages and they mean a lot. So if you feel led to do that, we also appreciate you there. We will be back with our next episode of So You Don't Put Syrup on Your Grilled Cheese. I think it's June 2nd, not the 3rd.
Oh, is that
Whatever
Sunday?
that's
I was looking.
whatever that Sunday is. I feel like I don't know. You probably know because your birthday closer to, yeah, it's the 2nd.
Oh, okay.
June
I was
2nd.
for some reason.
So Kalanda birthday on June 5th. So that's gonna be the birthday episode. All right. So party hats and all types of things. All right. So we would love for you all to join us for that. It's going to be a good time. So June 2nd, 11 a.m. Central is our next episode. And this will be up for replay. So if you're just getting here, please do go back and watch. Every comment means something. Reaction, shares, likes, subscribe, all of that. Please do. Your support means the world to us. Anything else you want to say to the people, cousin?
Love your faces.
Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.